Well, welcome back to my third episode on my 12 for 2K challenge. I haven't finished the motor yet, still got a few things to do that, but I had a bit of a free day to clean up at work, so I thought I'd drag out the gearbox and parts and all the little things like that we need for that. So, you know, obviously people think it's $1,000 gearbox to start with. I'm using, obviously it's a shed pattern case. The case is actually damaged, as you can see in there. It's used to be in an old Speedway car from memory. I've had it that long, and I ended up with it and rebuilt a mate's gearbox for his Speedway car. And that is something that I can't let out to a customer or even a friend. So I ended up giving Jason a good case, and I've kept this one. So it's yeah, it's worth something. It's not worth scrap metal, to be honest, to someone. So it actually had a valve put in it, so it used to actually have to apply band pressure, things like that, to get the car to take off. So you dump it back in there when it was finished, and it has an old Hurst / B&M bracket. I don't know which one it is, but this one originally used to take the kick down. So all I've done is just jammed it full of silicon. You know, it's just a really old bracket. We use multi-fits now these days. Hub wise, I've got an old second-hand clutch hub. We're only going for 5 top gear clutches, so which is really, at the end of the day, 5 factory 100th clutches. These are all old ones. See, they're even different colours. So we've got 5 100th clutches, 5 70th steels. They're all second hand, just stuff I just cleaned up, you know. So I have a lot sitting around, as I said. Piston wise, I can get it out. Oh, come out there. So this piston has been cut down 100 to 860 thou. So that will obviously get you 5 clutches, 5 steels, and it gives you a 60 thou clearance, which is good. So yeah, 5 by 100 thou clutches, 5 by 70 thou steels. As I said, cut it down to 860. You're in the ballpark of plus or minus a little bit, but that'll give you 60 thou clearance. The old drum that I'm using, you can see it's got bad, it's smooth. I've run it at flapper disc over just to smooth it out. Obviously it's something you couldn't put in the customers, so I've always just hung it to all my old shit. You can see where the old band that's come off this drum was actually wearing into it. So now reverse. Now I've taken the wave plates out of all these two, so there's no wave plate. This is actually a reverse wave plate. Just, I don't know if you can see that, but it's a wave plate. So we're not even going to use that. So under there with the scrap. Reverse retaining ring. It's rusted. Same thing. It's just all old shit. Everybody's going to whinge about it, but it is what it is. I hung on to all my stuff. I'm a hoarder, as I said. Pressure plate, same thing, rusted. I don't even remember what box it come out of. I just found all my shit today. So same thing with reverse. You see different clutches in. I'm just using whatever I can get my hands on without spending any money, really. If you've got to buy a full rebuild kit for a Powerglide, the cheapest kit out there that I found on eBay is about $330, and with 5 clutches in high, 5 in reverse, with a trans brake, it'll go, it'll take 700 horsepower, depending on gear sets. So you can even see that one's been hot at one stage, but I don't care. So, alright, so that's that. Where is it? So this piston is literally 1 inch thick. So same thing, 5 100th thou clutches, 5 70th thou steels, 1 inch thick. They come in various thicknesses, so if you've got one that's thicker, you just machine it down, and that'll give us about 60-70 thou clearance in reverse, which would be perfect. Using the standard single ring piston. It's got an old aluminium ring on it. That's original, like old school, that thing. You can get twins. I'm not going to waste my money on this one. So reverse springs and retainers. You can even see the different colour springs in there. That's high gear, retainer and springs. This little box here is just all the parts that we really need just to bolt together, nuts and bolts. I've gone through, found everything, old gaskets, and things like that. So I had a choice of, I'd have another second-hand hub here, but that'll take 9 clutches, so we don't need that. So I'll just go for the little one that'll take 6. We're only using 5, but yeah, so that's the case. Here's my box of second-hand clutches. You can see that one there's actually got a burn mark on it, but I don't care. For my own stuff, I just muck around, you know, if I don't have to waste money on it. Input shafts. So that's the gear set. We're actually using just a 6-cylinder 1.82 ratio. You know, I've got some 176s here, but we're not worried about it. So I've got some old input shafts here, so we don't have to buy an input shaft, but if you actually put them side by side, line them up, so they're pretty well flush at the back, but you can see the rings are in different spots. So that's actually a 6-cylinder or 182 input shaft, and that's a 176 input shaft. It's because the gear sets it in a different spot, so it has to change in the actual centre of the gearbox. And that's an old 6-cylinder one, just has the knob on the end which locks into the converter. So as I said, I'm using everything old. I'm not putting a cent into this thing. I don't even know how you'd class it. Cheapest hub I found was $100 on eBay, so you've got to say it's a $50 hub. I'm even using second-hand gaskets. I'll go and have a look. Like I went through a lot of shit this morning. I still got to get a pump out, get one of those pumps on top. I need a V8 pump. 6-cylinder one pumps are actually shorter here. So I've got that's a band I found, an old filter, modulator. Modulator won't work, but you still got to have one. Got a bucket of bands that have got to go and get relined, but you know, plenty of old 6-cylinder cases and things like that. So yeah, and let's go and have a look. But gasket wise, there's a heap of old gaskets in here. As I said, I'm in this for the cheap fun and laugh, so I'm just going to use that whatever old shit comes out of there. Got to get an extension housing. That's actually an old V8 one that's been cracked, so we might, depending on how it goes, gearbox mount wise, we may even weld that up, get the old man to weld it up, re-tap it, how they call it. Well, that's a 6-cylinder one, so you can see they're in different spots, you know. So, and what we'll do is I'll do a little shot on this to make a manual valve body, but we'll get back to that later. But I'll start assembling the box. I'm not going to sit there and do it bit by bit and show it, because it'll just take forever, and you know, no one wants to listen to that dribble. So but yeah, we'll come back to this part later. And what we've got literally, so in boost valves, in they actually make 4 of them. There's a little one, I've got one here somewhere, but I don't know where it is. So we've got a 460 boost valve, a 476 and a 489. So that's a V8. These literally only really come in Chevy stuff. This is Holden. So we're going to use the 460. We're just going to put a heavy regulator spring on it, which you can buy off eBay for $20. And to make the actual manual valve body, I've just got these out. These are different ones over time there, where people have modded them. So what we've got to do, we've got to space this back about 6 to 7 mil. So the ones that I use on my own stuff is that one, whether I use it in just a manual valve body or a trans brake. But these are just ones that people have cut. I've pulled out of transmissions over time and won't put them in. But the easiest one to do is actually this one here, which is just a 5/16 transmission line. Cut it down to 7 mil, bang it on the end there. So what it does, is when it goes in the valve, it actually goes in this one here. What it does is it moves it back and it unblocks the gallery in here, which lets the fluid flow. So then it's actually bypassing the governor. So we won't even use that. That'll actually get taken out, and we'll come back to it later, as I said. Because I pulled the backs of the box apart to put the reverse in, because I've set it actually out for trans brake for later on if we want to chuck a trans brake in it, which we probably will, and we'll get on the mill and make a trans brake. But so I've blocked off the 2 governor feed holes. So they're just a quarter grub screw. Block them off. Means we don't need that no more, because that's bypassing the fluid through here, and that's it. But we'll come back to that later, and we'll slowly put that together and just go from there. The bolts out of it, and yeah, we'll go from there. All right, thank you. Just a quick one on tools as well. So Powerglides are so basic tool wise. So the stuff that I got here, so the Transtech lip wizard for putting your seals into your high drum. They come in a kit if you get a Transtech. Good to have an air blower, rubber tipped, so you can check your clutch apply. That's just a straight pick, one with a little hook on it. Big screwdriver. Actually has a little notch out of it in the end, if you can see that. That's actually for getting under the reverse piston snap ring, which is that one there. And this here, this is so basic. So it's just a bit of 50x5. It's actually got 2 pieces on it. I use it as a spacer on some boxes. So just say 50x5 flat bar with an M10 rod, 300mm long. All right, nut on the top. Has a spacer tube that you can adjust. Just a bit of it's about 20mm wide flat bar just bent up, and an old bearing race with the center cut out, so you can use the picks to get through the center to pick it out. So this will, once you put it all on, that goes around the retaining ring, which are these here, and obviously do the nut down. You know, obviously it pushes it down, blah blah blah, which will push on this and compress the springs, which will give you the room to unpick the actual lock. So easy. It's the only tool, major tool, that you need for a Powerglide. You can use it on Turbo 350s, or you can use a drill press on high drums, not a reverse. This needs that tool, a basic tool that you can make to take the reverse piston out of that. So yeah, all right, we'll get going, and these things are worth their weight in gold. Easy to put the actual the high gear seals in without splitting them, nicking them, whatever. So yeah, but yeah, this is just all basic. You know, I learnt 25 years ago how to muck around with gearboxes, and obviously because I got ripped off by a couple of shops, and I've been doing my own, and a lot of friends ever since. So I just do it for fun, but anybody can do it. It's not that hard. All right, thank you. Okay, got reverse in. I've got the servo in the side of it, so that actually applies first gear in the band. Now if you want to check it, air in here. So obviously that's applied. you will get leakage through air because it's only air. Fluid's obviously thicker than air, and that'll take up the leakage. But you let it go and it returns. So to do reverse is this hole here. See if I can do it. There's a bit of a leak there, only because I can't block that hole off properly. But that shows you that reverse is working. And I ended up with 60 thou clearance, which you can see in the photo. Put some feeler gauges through here, and that's where you get your clearance from. So yeah, that's that. Now I'll start stacking the gear set in, and then a band. I've got a band, as I said, out of all my old stuff. I use one, probably just use one of those pumps there, both V8 ones, so use that. But it's an old band. You can actually see it's worn through the centre. It hasn't been running on the drum properly, but even found an old chrome pan as well, so probably put that on. An old filter, I'm just going to use an old filter. Thinking about Powerglides, they're washable. Modulator, does nothing. It's only there for the looks really, so yeah, I'll start stacking all that up and keep going from there. Okay, onto the pump. Now this is obviously, like, it's a V8 pump with a longer stator tube in it. This one actually had a bush in it, so it's been using a turbo spline application with a turbo converter at one stage. I don't use a lot of these older pumps anymore, and you know, everything today makes 1,000 plus horsepower. And these pumps, they just won't take it. So I use an aftermarket 7-bolt pump, and this would have come out of a transmission. I don't even know, I have that many old pumps here now, I forget where they all come from, but I would have replaced it with a 7-bolt pump at one stage. And yeah, because I do like quite a few transmissions over 1,000 horsepower. So, but what I've done, so it's got the bush, so if we ever have to put I'm just using Powerglide converter, but if I have to put a turbo spline converter in it, I can go ahead and do it. So now this is a converter charge hole, right? So restriction in here, I have put a restriction in. I don't know if you can see, it's a little brass set screw down in there, and I just drilled that out 140. I don't think we need to go any lower. You know, so that should help stop converter from ballooning. Now I've got a special tool to bolt all the pumps back together and align them, but if you use your case, I've just got an old case here just for reference, but what you do is put the pump in upside down. Obviously, see the bolts are loose, right? So when it's in there, now it's upside down, make sure all your holes line up all the way around, then do your bolts up to the specs, and that's how you line your pump up. Like, as I said, I have a pocket tool, which is just here, but for someone that doesn't have one, you don't need special tools. That's what I was saying. You only need those few that I said. You're going to put your box together, because I'm at this stage now. You know, we're waiting on the pump now, which I still got to bolt it together, but that's an easy way to line it up without buying a proper tool for it. So yeah, now pump gears, you can see these are old rusty things. Now, if you see that's dragging across, that's how you tell if pump gears are good. Right? So putting a bit of weight on that, you can't get them out. A lot of old 6-cylinder boxes that I get, they always have pretty decent pump gears. V8 ones are pretty shag most of the time, but if you can drag that along, let's spin it around, it means your pump gears are good. If they fall out like that, like that's forcing it and moving it around to get it out, it's when they just fall straight out. It means they're no good. These aren't the best, but they're not the worst either. So they'll do for my application. And yeah, so I'll put the pump back together, put that in there, and next thing is the valve body. Put the valve body together, and yeah, we just go from there. All right, be back soon with all the pumping. Thank you. Okay, valve body, back to the valve body. But one thing I forgot to say earlier is like, so now I've got the pump in, obviously torque all your bolts up. This bottom one here, it's actually got pressure ports on either side of it. So put silicone on it. Put, you know, like get the bolt, put silicone on the bolt, put the washer on, there's a little washer on it, put silicone on the washer, then screw it all in, because they've got a tendency to leak out of there. So pressure up through here and it just pisses out. Something you don't want to have happen. So that's all in. Everything's done. I've still got to sort out which extension we're going to use yet, but all right, manual valve body, as I said before. Another thing too, so these two rings here, there's actually two of these, so they're pump, they're input shaft. These two here are Teflon, these are metal. So in the standard rebuild kits you get, they come with metal, don't use them. So you don't want them at all. I've already got the pump in, this is just another set of rings. So you put Teflon on, because once you go manual valve body and you start putting a bit of pressure through it, and it's more of a constant pressure, it will eat out those rings, which will wreck your pump, wreck your drum. So use Teflon. That's the only way to go. If it was just a standard rebuild, automatic shift, you can use the standard ones, doesn't matter. Make sure you use Teflon. All right, so shift valve. So I'm going with the little spring in here that I normally use, whether it be a manual valve or a trans brake that I do. So I'll just put a bit of trans gel on the end of the shift valve, and as I said, all it's doing is spacing it backwards. So it actually brings it, the shift valve's right up here, brings it back here, opens up the port. And now this spring here, you don't have to put it in, but it's a good idea to put in the actual factory manual, the automatic valve body. It has two springs. Just put one in, because what you do is when you go to get the circlip out, it's got pressure behind here. Helps it just pop out, that's all it is. Don't need to be there, but it just helps you get the actual circlip out. Yeah, that's all it does. So pressure regulator valve, high pressure spring, as I said, 460 boost valve, and your clip. So that's how it goes back in to this channel here. Goes through here, obviously in there, and this one here goes in here. So I will put a bit of, as I said, trans gel on there just so it doesn't fall off. Slide that in. As I said, you don't have to use a spring, but the spring just helps you pop that circlip out if you have to pull it apart again. And because it's manual valve body, don't use those metal rings. They're just shit. You'll hate yourself for it. All right, I'll keep going, and I'll get that all in and assemble. Thanks. Okay, so regulator valves in, regulator spring, boost valve, that's all under there, goes in there. All right, so your shift valve, you can actually see that little spring in there. So what that spring is doing, it's actually opening up, where is it? It's opening up that hole and that hole. All right, so it's bypassing it, and that's what makes it, with that little spring, so it circulates the fluid through those channels. That's what makes it a manual valve body. So now onto the separator plate. So basically this is just a factory separator plate. Two modifications. That hole there, drill out to 316. That hole there, 316. And that's your shift kit. So now it's just bolting it all back together. Obviously there's no kick down no more, because it's deleted. There's no governor, there's no kick down. It's been taken out of the shift bracket anyway. So as I said, I just filled that up full of silicone. It's just an old, like a Hurst or B&M bracket, I don't even remember which one it is. But that's it. Drill the holes out, do that valve, and there's your manual valve body, shift kitted, all done, ready to go. So main thing is I've got to put the other half of the body on. That's the actual shift valve that goes in to the body here. Right, it comes out the other side there actually. So that goes in, I'll get all that in and yeah, get it all bolted up and on to the next part. Thank you. Okay, valve body's in, filters on. The next thing I've got to do is I've just cleaned that old chrome pan up that I found. got to put the governor support on, and like, as I said, this is the old governor. Well, I'm actually not using it, so the governor's out. But if you get rid of the governor, right, if you leave it, you don't touch reverse, you don't do anything to reverse, you don't have to pull the governor off, but because it's all been pulled right down, so governor goes, and now we just block off that hole and that hole. That's the main one here, but I always just block two of them off. So, and they just tap straight up with a quarter tap. Some little quarter grub screws in to block it off, and that is it. So yeah, all done. Modulator doesn't do jack, it's only in there. So, but that's it. So yeah, if, hopefully get back onto the motor next couple of days. I've just got some other business stuff I have to work with, and get back on that, and hopefully get it in the car ASAP, because I'm running out of time. I don't know if I'm going to make the 26th of January. I do have a lot of work on, personal work. So, but yeah, if you know the old saying, if you like what you're watching, hit the like button, subscribe, whatever. I haven't said it yet. First time I've actually said it, but I'm having fun doing this. I haven't had a decent run of the drag strip for a long time, so yeah. But this is all made up out of second-hand parts, damaged case that no one would use, or you couldn't sell it to anybody. 6-cylinder gear set, got probably about 10 or 15 sets. That's why I'm using it. Oh, that's the other thing that I forgot. I found why we don't use that pump. You see that wear marking there? It's massive. That's why we took it out. It was only looking at the thing when it was up this way on my little bench that I noticed that. It's really bad. So that's why we originally would have taken it out. We just would have gone to a 7-bolt pump. I don't know whose it was out of, I can't remember. But yeah, the rest of it's, where is it? Literally just there. The rest of it's good. So yeah, that's why that pump was not used. So hopefully it works, and this should be fine, I think. But yeah, so as I said, like and subscribe, and yeah, I'll back onto the motor next week and just go from there and have some more fun. Thank you.